But first tonight, Adelaide's drinking water and the new debate about whether the fluoride in our water is doing us more harm than good. Now, the addition of fluoride has always been considered a huge bonus in fighting tooth decay. But one expert says as many as 200,000 Australians may be suffering an intolerance to the fluoride, not realising that it might be responsible for a wide range of medical symptoms. Vasil Melandris has this report.
Something is terribly, terribly wrong, and we have been led very far astray.
It took me 6 months to get the legs to recover from the ulcers. And if you see photos from then to now, you wouldn't know I was the same person. I looked sick, a real sickie.
You might get ulceration, you might get just a rash, or you may get breathing problems.
Stomach upsets, skin rashes, headaches.
It may look crystal clear, but did you ever stop to think of what goes into our water to get it from this to this? However, this is not about how they purify our drinking water, it's about what's being put in it.
It amazes me, absolutely amazes me. How has something which is basically like a very big scientific and medical mistake been carried out?
Aside from chlorination, for the past 50 years, our health authorities have been adding the chemical fluoride as the first public line of attack on tooth decay. And it works.
The fluoride's there, the surface of the tooth is very resistant to plaque acids. If it's not there, the resistance is down, so decay is more likely to occur.
Despite the success, authorities are now facing an anti-fluoride rebellion, with some experts claiming that fluoride is poisoning us and the research is being overlooked.
The safety standards for water fluoridation in this country are based on fraudulent science.
The claim of fraudulent science was boosted when a Harvard professor in the US came under investigation for bearing the results when one of his students made a profound and terrifying discovery.
There's the possibility that is now being looked at in the United States that fluoride might have increased the prevalence of a rare type of bone cancer in young men or boys.
This bombshell raises questions here about the safety of mandatory water fluoridation and whether there's more at stake than just fighting tooth decay.
I believe it would kill me.
Geelong grandmother Elaine Valentine says she couldn't understand why she was able to lead a normal, healthy life in her hometown, but whenever she headed to Melbourne and drank the water, she'd come home a very sick woman.
I feel lousy and I get very lethargic, couldn't care less about anything. Very, very tired and very, very wheezy and just feel plain ill.
But all she was told was that it was a virus or exposure to plane fumes or even asthma. Unconvinced, Elaine consulted a natural therapist who recognised immediately that something was seriously wrong.
When we went back to the hospital, she then did the testing and was absolutely shocked to see a severe asthmatic reaction that Elaine had, where her lung function dropped to a quarter of its normal volume when she actually drank the glass of water with the fluoride added to it.
Dr. Philip Robertson says up to 200,000 Australians may be suffering from an intolerance to fluoride and not realise it, with symptoms ranging from headaches or indigestion to chronic arthritis.
If somebody's taking fluoride and they suspect there's a link between their symptoms, it's a matter of getting them off the fluoride and watching to see if there's an improvement.
And Elaine's not his only client.
Painful joints and initially sore throat and swollen glands.
Retiree Carmel Stringer says she's been suffering from hypersensitivity to fluoride for nearly 30 years, which has drastically restricted her lifestyle.
In some people it could be fatal. If I'd continued, it could have killed me.
She's had to fork out hundreds of dollars for a reverse osmosis water filter, the only way to remove fluoride in the home, but says it's restored her health.
Symptoms went almost immediately.
But Elaine and Carmel's pleas for recognition seem to be falling on deaf ears. 80% of public water in South Australia, New South Wales and Western Australia is fluoridated, nearly 70% in Victoria and 91% in Tasmania. Queensland defies the trend with just 5%. But that may also change as health authorities make the push to cover more and more communities. And the reason? It's good for our teeth.
Alzheimer's, birth defects, crime rates, you name it. There have been links brought up to it, but there's no proven scientific evidence for any of these links.
Adelaide's Jason Armfield from the Australian Research Centre for Population Oral Health says there's nothing of substance in the case against fluoride, and he recently co-authored a paper stating the benefits far outweigh the risks.
As with the majority of our research, we found that children who are living in non-fluoridated areas generally had higher decay rates than children who are living in fluoridated areas.
However, other experts argue that while toothpaste contains a pharmaceutical-grade fluoride, which has undergone stringent testing, the fluoride in our water is derived from a different, more worrying source.
Fluoridation in most water supplies involves putting in industrial waste, a waste from the phosphate fertiliser industry, into drinking water. And not only does it contain fluoride, but it contains traces of arsenic and heavy metals. So that in itself is pretty worrying.
Professor Mark Diesendorf from the Institute of Environmental Studies at the Uni of New South Wales says there's enough science to prove the case against fluoride, and we deserve the right to choose whether we have it in our water or not.
Even more frightening thing is that the health departments are not telling the truth about it. They are so committed to fluoridation that they are suppressing evidence of harm.
While the jury's still out on fluoride, and experts on both sides are locked in a fierce debate over its effectiveness and safety, Carmel Stringer has this warning.
Well, if you have any symptoms that go on that you worry about, go to an allergy specialist, have it diagnosed.
Everyone has a right to be free from such exposures from what is essentially mass medication with an uncontrolled dose. So this is really a violation of ethics as well as a violation of people's health.